Rosie 5 months ago .0 likes. In a horribly painful place. Day was June 15th-17th when I discovered my HSA was involved with several women and he confessed to being ANSA for 30 years. He became sober but did not embrace recovery, became angry, mean then violent, hitting me for the first time in 6 years. On November 11, 2018 I found his journal with very incriminating admissions. He is a doctor. He threatened to kill me and himself and I had him arrested. He was then involuntarily committed for 4 days, now he is filing for divorce as he hates me. I am bereft and feeling guilty, but I really thought I could get him into long-term rehab. I now know that sobriety does not equal recovery and that there is no way ANSA can be pushed into rehab against their will. I'm miserable. Thrive 513 6 months ago .0 likes. Tomorrow is DD anniversary since 4 years ago. He is in recovery, doing or not doing all the right things, says he loves me, wants to stay in the marriage, but then also tells me he's a sex addict, aware of attractive women everywhere and there are temptations everywhere. This makes me so enraged. I don't want to be married to a sex addict. Him telling me these things makes me feel ugly and replaceable and makes sex this easily obtainable, not special thing. But he says I'm the one who's choosing. Luck me. We have 3 young kids together. I talk about if we stay together till they leave to college. I'm disgusted by his sexual issues. I have love for him but don't love him that way anymore since the truth came out. We've done all the therapy, still ongoing, all the steps in the workbook, but what's next? Where's the good other side? It's just managed now, but that doesn't mean it's a relationship I want. Like, oh, I'm a lucky loser that sleeps next to you at night while you were oh so aware of your many temptations all day. Sarah Mills 8 months ago .0 likes. I am overwhelmed. I have been married for 11 years to a man who has cheated on me, watched porn and masturbated compulsively, and through it all remains insistent that he loves me and doesn't want to hurt me. I wonder often if his words are sincere since he keeps getting tripped up by the same things. We have 2 kids together and he has 6 kids in total, a testament to his sexual addiction. His middle daughter lives with us too. She is 18 and has special needs. A few days ago I found out he propositioned one of her friends for sex. Luckily for him the girl is 18 and has no special needs, so he can't really be prosecuted for anything, but it was a close call. I don't even know how he came to be that involved with her that he would ask her, but I am not sure I want to know. I don't know if it would help me or hurt me more to know every detail of his addicted behavior. But it is getting out of hand. He wants to work through this and stay together, and honestly I don't know how close to the end of my rope I am. Ultimately I want to stay together, but I am not sure if I can do it. I hate being hurt and feeling used so much. He spoke to our pastor the other day and the pastor is willing to at least help us however he can. I just have so many questions and just feel depressed. See, I have my own mental health issues. With all of this going on it is hard to take care of myself, but I know I have to. And I have to take care of the kids' needs as well. I can't tell my family about what's going on, but at least I have a good friend I can talk to. My therapist recommended joining a support group, so here I am. I hope to find at least a listening ear here, and to feel less alone, because I isolate myself usually when stress starts getting to me. And isolation is not good for me with my mental health issues. I just feel so overwhelmed by it all, and I don't know what to do or what boundaries to set between him and me physically and otherwise. I just don't know a lot of things. Sorry if I am rambling, I am physically and emotionally exhausted right now. I could really use a "you're not alone" type of comment and maybe a little encouragement that this doesn't have to be the end, or that this too shall pass. I hope to find a friend here that can relate to my struggles. Seeking Hope a year ago .0 likes. Thank you for sharing this. I am hurt and heartbroken, and simply broken, and I have been for 6 years. All I seem to find online are stories of women who suffer for decades, with no hope in sight. I am not married to this man, we do not have children, we do not own a home, and I am so tempted to end it and never look back. Moonbeam middle. 0 likes. My husband and I have been married for almost 8 years. He had a problem with sexual addiction long before I met him, although we've only put a name to it in the last month or so. He has lied to me from day one and I feel like I don't even know the man that I married. How could I when he clung so desperately to his lies all this time? Lies, gaslighting, manipulation, selfishness, immaturity, resentment towards women, these are the things he brought to the table. Every time he gets caught he will start out playing dumb. Oh, I didn't even realize I clicked that or wrote that, it must have been an accident, I can't remember, it was only fill in the blank and I thought that was okay. Then when challenged he turns to anger, denial, distraction and confusion techniques. Once I stay on topic, something a psychologist taught me last year too was to keep him focused and as soon as he responds listen to see if he really answered the question or not and to keep asking it until he directly answers what is asked. Doesn't always get me the truth or an answer from him but it's helpful because I know the more he tries to distract or get away from answering I can just take that as an answer. Then he will either explode and spew hateful venom at me or he will cry and tell me how sorry he is while still minimizing and rationalizing. It was only one time and I don't even remember doing it but I guess I must have so I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had crossed the boundaries because they weren't clear but it won't happen again even though the boundaries have been very clear, and how he's going to change and not do it again. Then he will usually get away as fast as he can, go to bed, with his phones of course, and the next day act like nothing happened. He'll be a little nice, maybe pour me some coffee, although I currently refuse to eat or drink anything that he has prepared, touched or been alone around for my own safety, and he just acts like everything's okay. Kisses me and tells me loves me on his way out the door to go to work like nothing happened. Anyways, we have a son together and he has a son from his last marriage who I love so incredibly much. I can't imagine putting my son through a divorce, he's 7, how will he handle it? And my heart breaks even more for my near teenage stepson who has been through this before, and years later is still hurt by it. I want to divorce him but I don't know how I will do that. I've never really held a job, we have no money and I'm scared I won't get to see my stepson. Our son will be coming with me if I go. Any of you out there who have left and had to leave behind a stepchild? What happened? How did the kids take it? Were they okay after a little while or did the loss stick with them? Anyone who is a stay-at-home mom gone through this and started a new life for herself and kids? I don't feel so alone now that I've found this site. But I'm just hoping to hear about how other moms with no income or savings were able to leave or even just able to make the decision to leave. It feels like this decision is even harder because I want to do the right thing. I can't trust my emotions. I love him still but how much can I or should I put up with? When is it okay in God's eyes for me to leave? And how do I do that? Is life as a single mom more fulfilling? Does your heart ever stop aching to go back to him even though you know you will never trust him or feel safe with him? Shelby middle. 0 likes. Hi. I'm a wife of a sex addict. We've been married almost 5 years. He was very honest about his history when we were dating. Porn, strip clubs, multiple partners, mostly girlfriends, sex with a stripper etc. But when I met him he hadn't been to a strip club in at least a year but his porn addiction was still full swing. I thought I could handle this and we could get through it together. I had no idea what a problem it would be. Through our marriage he has looked at and masturbated to porn. He is usually upfront and honest about it. He almost went to a strip club once early in our marriage but stopped. He has been attending a 12-step program and has a sponsor. He has me put passwords and restrictions on his phone, laptop and the TV, smart TV. Those have failed a few times and he has told me about them. He's picked up porn magazines but also told me and throws them out. I think I've started to block out the pain. I don't feel hurt when I find these things out, I used to be happy when he'd mess up because it meant I didn't have to have sex with him. But now I do feel disappointed and frustrated, maybe angry even, but not strongly. Resigned is probably a good word. Until last night. He went to a strip club. I felt something was wrong and called. When he returned my call, he lied and said he was just taking his time at the store. He did tell me not long after he returned home, but the thought that he could so easily lie about it, and that he went, of course, shook me. He doesn't lie to me. I've told him that to me that is grounds for divorce. But truth is that I don't think I could leave him. We have a young son together and I don't know what I'd do. I was very angry and cried, which I haven't done in a long time, and now I feel indifferent. I can't tell if I actually don't care or am used to suppressing my feelings. I have no one to talk to. None of my friends or family know about any of this. I feel alone. No support groups are readily available, and the one I found meets in the middle of the day and I have no one to watch my son while I go. I can say I feel angry at him for putting me in this isolated state. I hate that the only person I can talk to about this is him, but I don't want to talk to him. He cried and wailed, begging me not to leave him and take our son. I know he feels remorse for this addiction. He tells me that this isn't my fault and I don't deserve this, but I can't help feeling like I do. I have gained weight, I enjoy sex, but I'm not particularly enthusiastic about it. At least I found this place. At least I can type this out to someone. Anyone. Brittany Middle. 0 likes. I am married to a sex addict. He is supposedly in recovery, though no fruits of recovery are evident after 6 months of separation, 4 months separated outside the home, 2 months in-house separation. We are going to marriage counseling. He is going to celebrate recovery and has been seeing a CSOT counselor for the past month. He is apparently working on a disclosure. Our marriage counselor is encouraging physical affection, but had me agree to trust the program and not ask any questions about my husband's addiction or how he is doing. Is this normal? I feel like I'm dying, playing a role in a bad play. My husband is acting more secretive and suspicious, yet I'm supposed to be physically vulnerable with him and not ask questions? I'm supposed to just trust the program? Is there anyone else who has experienced this or can tell me why the wife needs to stay in the dark while a husband is in early recovery? Amanda Middle. 0 likes. I'm sorry you are still hurting and have not begun to heal. To heal and work on your marriage, there should be no secrets of any sort. He should be an open book. All passwords are shared, GPS tracker on his phone. Wide open. I don't think his therapist has any idea on helping a sex addict. Please seek your own therapist that specializes in this. Reach out to Ella, she is so great. Ella Hutchinson LPC Middle. 0 likes. Amanda, you are correct. After infidelity of any kind, the only way to restore trust is no secrets. A person who cheats gives up their right to privacy. Not as punishment, but as a natural consequence if they want to save the relationship. Ella Hutchinson LPC Middle. 0 likes. Brittany, the therapist is wrong. You are not supposed to be in the dark. Please read this article that I wrote. You should find it helpful. www.covenantize.com web link. Shelby Middle. 0 likes. My husband is in recovery. No, there is no reason for secretive behavior. He can't talk about others' problems, but he can talk with you about himself. It sounds like you want to support him. He should include you in his recovery. Marsha Middle. 0 likes. Hi. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who has shared their story here. I can say I do not feel alone. I will turn 50 this month. I was married for 13 years and have 4 children. Our marriage ended in divorce and I was a single mom raising my children for 10 years. I dated a kind, honest man for 5 years during this time. Then, in 2012, my father, who was married to my mother for 50+ years, shot and killed her in our family home. She was only 67 and my best friend. Needless to say, the trial is still going on. During this time the man I dated for 5 years couldn't deal with the pain I am enduring as well as my kids. A kind man who pursed me for 3 years and my friend picked up the pieces. I could see light at the end of this nightmare and my children were happy, so we married in 2013. In the last year I just felt something wasn't right. Our sex life was good but just seemed different. While he was out of town I went to his office where I found porn/pics etc. on his computer. I was angry. I questioned him and he said that he didn't need porn, he had me. I didn't believe him but didn't push the issue. I started to notice that when we were out, he would look at other women, a lot when prior I was the only girl in the room. Then I started noticing him putting a blanket over him while watching TV with me. When we are shopping he walks behind me and I often see him grab himself almost to see if he has an erection. Then I found a script for Silas. When asked he said he only takes it sometimes when we are on trips together. I started monitoring and pills were missing a lot and we weren't having sex every night like usual. When I asked again, he started raising his voice. I have never experienced this nor have my kids, so I backed down. I found porn again on his work PC and he admitted to it but said he doesn't do it anymore. I don't believe him. I feel like I am going crazy. He turns everything around to be my fault always. Says he provides for us and he is not cheating. I walked into his office unexpectedly last week and he had his belt unbuckled and would stand up. He heard me walk in the front door and turned his computer off, not having time to zip up. He had the look of horror, guilt, and I asked, "Why is your belt unbuckled?" He said, "I just went to the bathroom." He is emotionally disconnected from me and is angry when I try to talk about more than just the weather. I am devastated. I don't know if I can put myself together again as my first divorce and my mother's murder has nearly killed me. I blame myself thinking if I had more sex, dye my hair, look better that it will change, but I know I am not the problem. I am an educatee woman who is very strong but I'm just tired. I am heartbroken. I have to hide my sadness as my children are my life and I don't want them to feel this pain. I feel like I'm going crazy. I trusted him. I allowed him to share my children. I am also learning that he lies a lot. Just about little stupid things. I know I have to find my voice and strength and take care of me, but right now I think I'm just paralyzed and grieving. I have faced many things in my life but this is something that blindsided me. Gene Middle. 0 likes. So I guess I have known deep in the back of my heart that this was a problem for most of my 23 years of marriage, but it wasn't until last week when I got the hard evidence that I actually knew that I was not crazy and imagining things. Last week my 13-year-old picked up my husband's phone when he was not in the room and it kept going off to find a text saying, "I hope I see you again." This after I had found another track phone. Even though I called the number back and spoke to a woman, I had nothing conclusive as she said it was a wrong number. Then a few days later, when my husband was in the garage, I quickly grabbed his phone to find a picture of a topless woman in her underwear and a string of texts describing how she saw his ad and wanted to hook up. The hookup. And then the mutual afterward texts of would like to see each other again. I am in shock. I had known he was posting these ads for years but he said he was just playing around. That was bad enough but I accepted it. I now can see that he no doubt has even brought strangers to my house and I am honestly afraid for my health now. What is the first step? What do I do? Jane Middle. 0 likes. Hi, I sympathize with so many of the other posters. Please know that your partner's behavior is not your responsibility nor your fault. That being said, I need support too. Last week I discovered that my husband of 30+ years, a good guy in what I had considered a pretty good marriage, had been paying for sex. I saw a text message on his phone and confronted him. He admitted getting BJs for a few years. He was remorseful and I believed him. I decided after reflecting a few days that I wanted to try to repair our marriage. I still love him. The strength of those feelings, despite his betrayal, surprises me. I told him I wanted him to see his therapist, and I saw a different therapist. Both therapists told us he needed to fully disclose to me, and to his credit I think he did. He came home and told me he has been seeing prostitutes regularly, not just for BJs, for 15 years. I am in shock. I am appalled. I was already hurt and angry but had felt better deciding to work on getting over this terrible hump, before I knew the full, maybe, extent. Now those feelings are back with a vengeance. I can't believe the man I thought I knew would take these risks, and could live with himself doing this to himself and to me. I feel like such a fool for being deceived for so long. Yet I think I still want to try to stay together. Am I just deluding myself that this is fixable? Is there a chance he will actually stop? What else should I do, besides seeing a therapist? I already had STD testing. On the positive side, he brought up being willing to do many of the things suggested for treatment of sex addicts, installing blockers, taking a polygraph, etc. I brushed those off, saying I think he should be responsible for his good behavior, not me. But several hours later, after an online crash course on sex addiction, it looks like maybe those are tools we should use. Some posters seem to be saying I should threaten exposure, that having a feared consequence helps him stop. In general, I don't want to be that kind of person, but I could do it if it would be helpful. Before I decide whether to go further into this, I want to know what is the chance that he will stop? So far the postings don't look like it's too good. Does anyone know? Any suggestions or thoughts on my other questions? Thanks, Jane. CC middle.0 likes. Help me. I just found out that my husband is addicted to shamal porn. I am a very understanding woman, but by nature this disgusts me. My husband does not disgust me. He was abused as a child, as was I. He has PTSD from serving in the army. I have PTSD from being a domestic violence survivor. I love my husband. I don't mind doing extra or trying different things in our bedroom. I'm trying to understand this, but I just can't. We have a blended family of 6 boys, have been together for 5 years, and we have been through what would tear most couples apart, but it always brings us closer. I don't have the want to leave my husband. I have the want to understand. I was with women and men before I met him, and I will admit sometimes I look at lesbian porn. I know this is from my childhood abuse and PTSD. I have been very open with my husband, and he is now doing the same with me. Please, someone help me feel like it's okay to love my husband knowing he has this issue. He loves me, I have no doubt, and he knows I love him. I'm not worried about him taking it to cheating on me or with a shamal, but I am worried for him, of course, and me too. I've started to research counseling and therapy in our area. I feel so lost. Ellen middle.0 likes. I have been married for almost 8 years, have 2 children and 1 more due in 5 weeks. I found out years ago my husband was a cyber sex addict. He told me he would change and went to counseling, and I believed him. Over and over again he lied to me. It was recently that I found out he had way more things going on than I ever thought. He has multiple alias, accountants, pretends to be an editor of a magazine to get girls to Skype with him, where he then has them take off their clothes and talk sturdy. I confronted him on this, and finally it hit him when I told him I wanted him out. He did. I found women discussing him, by his multiple aliases, on Google. He is everywhere. He is on the net all hours of the day, at work, 2 a.m., when I'm sleeping, etc. My children at 4 and 6, and like I said, another on the way. He moved us away from our family a few months ago for work, and now I am in another state all alone. Like I said, he is seeing 2 therapists and has software installed so I can see his every movement. But being that he has been doing this since he was 14. Now he is 34, I doubt he will change. I feel like I never had anything real with him. My kids adore him and he is a good father to them, but I have no idea what to do. I never really worked, and now will have 2 young children and a newborn to take care of. I am so stuck. Cheryl middle.0 likes. My life is so messed up right now, I don't know what to do. I have been with my boyfriend off and on for 2 years. I have known that he is a sex addict for over a year now. There was red flags in the very beginning of our relationship. I knew he was lying to me all the time, so I did my detective work. I found out that he was watching porn, TV with certain women of his liking, sexting a man, checking out girls and women on Facebook and masturbating to all of these things. He was stealing panties and other personal items and masturbating with them. He has never physically cheated, as he is the sex addict that lives in a fantasy world. He would go out and follow women with his eyes and go home and fantasize about them and masturbate. He denied doing this stuff for about 1.5 years. About 6 months ago, he decided he needed help for his addiction. He started going to SLA meetings and has been seeing a therapist for 3 months now. He was told to be honest with me and give full disclosure. I found out that he had been fantasizing while masturbating about my teenage granddaughter, 17, that lived here at the time. How do I ever deal with that sick thought? Since he said that he is on a healthy recovery path, he has gotten a 3-month chip for being clean that he said he earned. I caught him 2 weeks ago masturbating, and of course he said that was his first time doing it in over 90 days. I also found out that he had been lying to me about a girl, half his age, also his neighbor. He said they quit talking when he and I got back together. He had been lying to me for over a month about her since they were texting, and he would take her coffee every day after work. This is the month that I was starting to trust him again, and I thought the relationship was getting better. He thinks that I have a problem now and I should have faith in him and start trusting him again. How do you trust someone when you doubt everything they say? Sorry, this is all scrambled up. Just like my brain right now. Thanks for reading. Angela Middle. 0 likes. I have been with my husband for almost 10 years. During the first year I found he was viewing porn online, even of men on occasion, but I figured all men look at porn, so I didn't say anything. The next year, which was the first year of our marriage, was horrible. I would come home from work to find him in bed with our laptop, or I would wake up in the middle of the night to find him on the living room floor masturbating to porn on TV. He would try to hide it and deny anything was going on, but I knew and it bothered me. I didn't understand why he would do these things when he knew I could catch him. It was like he wanted to be caught. We never discussed it though. I was used to holding everything in all my life, but it was tearing me apart inside. I seriously considered leaving him before our first anniversary. My family knew something was wrong with me and kept telling me I deserved to be happy, but I wasn't convinced I should leave. Then one day while in the middle of cleaning I dropped to my knees and started crying, praying to God to help me decide what to do. I stood up and never thought about leaving him again. I got saved not long after that. Meanwhile, my husband was still viewing porn on a regular basis. I felt I should do something as a Christian woman to try to help him, otherwise I was just enabling. I would try to talk with him about it and he would say he did it because we weren't having sex enough, which I know is not true. He wasn't willing to get help, so I just prayed and dealt with it. After the birth of our second child, while I was on maternity leave, I decided to organize our drawers. I was devastated at what I found in his sock drawer. 2 pair of dirty woman's underwear. I immediately assumed he was cheating. I wrote him a letter and left the panties in a plastic bag on top and took the kids to my mom's. The next day I went home by myself to talk with him. He said they were our neighbors and he took them while he was doing some work at their house. It freaked me out, but he promised he never cheated and he told me he would get help, so I stayed. That was 2012. Fast forward to April 2015. He was out to dinner with his cousin. I had to complete our taxes, so I opened up the laptop for the first time in ages. Something made me click on the mailbox icon, which had multiple email accounts attached for both of us. I found responses to responses of his own Craigslist ads for M4M in the deleted items. One was from May 2014, 2 days before the birth of our third child, and the other was from February 2015. Since THW1 from February was more recent, I was able to find the actual ad online and it disgusted me. The other was too old, but the response scared me because the person wrote, "Do you want me to stop over before I train?" Which lead me to believe he was hosting, as they call it on Craigslist. Scary when he was laid off for a good bit of time and had my younger son home with him. I had no idea what to think. My heart was racing. I forgot to mention I was 8 months pregnant. I went to bed before he got home and just cried. The next day was Easter and we were having dinner at my mom's, so I didn't want to bring anything up. I just couldn't even look at him. I told my sister and decided not to say anything to him until I had everything in order. I didn't know if I'd have to leave in a hurry or what was going to happen. Of course that didn't last. The next day he wanted to know what is wrong and what I was talking to my sister about. I told him I knew. He tried to deny. I said I had proof, so he said go get the divorce papers and sell the house and give me half. I asked him to leave and he refused. The next few days I started preparing for what I thought was the end. He showed no remorse and I didn't think I could ever get over it. I was trying not to stress of the baby, but I was on an optional roller coaster. I would start crying out of nowhere at work and home. Thursday night he finally asked to talk. He apologized and said he wanted to get help and didn't want a divorce. He swore nothing physically happened, that it was just curiosity and he means of escape. The next day I went to my mom's to talk with her and my sisters. All the talk was about me leaving. When I got home there was a 4-page letter waiting for me stating everything I had been wanting to hear since we got married. When I finished reading it I cried, prayed to God for direction. Therapy came to mind. I stood up and went upstairs. We both just sobbed and hugged each other. It took him a week or two, but he made an apt with a psychologist and has been going every week. He started helping around the house and everything was running smoothly. I almost felt guilty that he was doing so much. A month later I had our 4th child. He continued to help out. Now 1 more month in and he's starting to go back to his old ways. He's on the tablet a lot. He's helping, but not as much. He's becoming more irritable. I can't help myself from checking his browsing history. Most of the time he remembers to clear it, but sometimes I find that he went on the webcam site he always went on before. I don't know how to bring it up to him. The other day he left work early. We were going to his grandfather's funeral. It took him a while to get home. He said he went to the store and also got a haircut, which was true, but who goes to get drain cleaning fluid when supposed to be getting ready for a funeral? I checked his history yesterday and found he was on Craigslist after he left work. That doesn't mean he did anything, but why would you even go on the site if it almost ruined your marriage? I'm feeling betrayed. I gave him another chance and now he's at it again. Was everything he said a lie to get me to stay? Is he just going to the doctor for me or does he want to change? I don't know what to do. We have 4 children under the age of 5. The past 2 months have been difficult for me. I know I need to get help myself if I ever want to get over this. I stayed because I believed nothing happened. I don't think I can if something actually did, since it was most likely with a man. I can't wrap my head around that. Either way I still can't be physical with him because I feel betrayed and don't understand why M4M. He tried to kiss me and I cried. Please help. Carla Middle.0 likes. David is a sex addict. I found out 3 years ago. The pain I've gone through over the past 3 years is unexplainable. I felt we had come out the other side recently. Our lives weren't governed by shame and pain and fear anymore. Today's I went onto his computer and I found he had been surfing through images of a pornographic nature. This was last weekend after we had an argument because he was behaving like the old him again. I confronted him. He minimized, blamed, misdirected, denied and threatened. Didn't offer me support and made me have to lead everything while offering me no support. It scares me for a number of reasons. That he can fall into the pattern of soothing through porn. That he didn't show the signs of recovery of coming clean and being accountable. That he never shows lust with me, I have to beg. That he behaved the same on discovery. That he didn't recognize the need to adjust recovery to avoid soothing with porn. That he didn't care about me in the act or the recovery. What I need help on is in understanding the above, and in knowing what to do now. Do I leave now? Who is this person I live with? Please help. Dana Middle. 0 likes. I found out 10 years ago that my husband had an affair. If organs him and thought we were completely healed. Then, last November I found out that my husband has since had 2 confessed affairs, and was sexting for other women. He swears nothing happened with any of them, and I do not believe him. I find porn hidden on flash drives, DVDs, his phone. I'm tired of it all and planning to leave. I have started seeing a counselor for being the spouse of a sex addict. My husband doesn't think he has a problem. What will it take before he realizes he has serious issues? Allison Middle. 0 likes. I feel like I am at the point where I am supposed to walk away or double down and I don't know what to do. I am so conflicted and so far do not feel like I have received clear direction from God, either that or I'm not paying attention. I found out last March, 2014, that my husband is a sex addict and has been for 30 years, since he was a teenager. He had progressed to the point that for the prior year and a half he had been hooking up with women he met on Craigslist and even brought women into our home. After the initial shock, despair, denial, devastation, etc., I have tried to be very supportive. We have 2 children that are 7 and 4 and I really don't want to destroy our family with divorce. I went through it many times as a child and know how hard it is. Although my husband is in recovery, there have been at least 3 relapses to the point that last October I asked him to move out and he has been out of the house for over 7 months now. Last week I found out there was another relapse. Thankfully there was no physical contact, but he was texting and exchanging pictures with a former partner that he ran into. I just don't understand. How many times do I have to keep re-experiencing the trauma and the pain? How do I know if there is still hope or that this is what the future is going to look like and it's time for me move on? He sees a counselor every week, visits with a pastor from our church weekly, goes to a 12-step program and goes to weekly recovery meetings at our church. He even went to an intensive with Dr. Mark Laser in February, and yet here we are again. I just don't know what to do and I am so tired of hurting. Tiffany Middle. 0 likes. It's a long story, but my porn-addicted husband and I were talking last night about our sex life. I was telling him that I was sexually frustrated, because he is never in the mood, but that I was learning to cope with it while he was working through his struggles. I then asked him how he was feeling and he said honestly, vindicated. Now you know how I feel every day. He told me that he has the urge to watch porn all the time, so now I know how he feels all the time 24/7. How he hates waking up in the morning and struggling through another day. I was so hurt. I feel selfish, but also feel angry because our lack of a sex life has been a constant issue for years before I discovered his addiction, so I have dealt with an unsatisfied sex drive for many years and he is acting like I have it so easy and he sounded so happy that I know how he feels. Why would he take joy in that? I am hurting and confused and I don't know what I am doing most days. Mary Middle. 0 likes. After having my husband under surveillance, hiring a private investigator, I learned that my husband was visiting prostitutes nightly. We have been married 33 years and approximately 10 years ago he became impotent, or so he told me. So naturally I would not suspect that he was having sex, just working late. When my pastor and I confronted him, he admitted that he has been seeing them for approximately 3 years and that this was after many years of masturbating in front of the TV and maybe computer. Obviously, I am devastated and trying to understand how he could lie to me for years. I am a very attractive small-built woman who keeps in shape, have a great executive position with traveling, and we have a beautiful home, and 2 lovely grown daughters. What I am struggling with is being married to a sex addict who is not attracted to me. He left me sexually stranded for all those years. Could anyone explain? Thank you. Ch0 likes. I'm not entirely sure what kind of support, advice I am looking for. My husband is addicted to Craigslist personals. He browses the personals ads daily. Occasionally he responds to the ads, in terms of emails or texts, but never in person. It is the intrigue part that gets him going. The thought of something new or different. He wants to see what other people say, do or want. He has a very active imagination and masturbates several times per day, to the point that we only have sex if I initiate it, because after all of that, his drive is diminished. He has not actually touched or met anyone. The rational part of me, the realistic part, is not bothered by his browsing. The jealous wife and possessive control freak in me is definitely bothered by the responding. The most alarming part of the situation, however, is that he wants to stop, but he can't. He said that last week he went 3 days without looking at Craigslist and he was so proud of himself. He does not want to be doing this. The guilt is consuming him. I want him to stop sneaking and hiding. I want him to feel as if he can express himself with me, to me. He assures me that he knows that he can, but there is something about it that keeps him sucked in and he can't stop. I am committed to my husband. I would not leave him for anything in the world, not even infidelity. He knows that. I know that may sound absurd to some people, but I strongly believe in sticking together and working things out. I am explicitly loyal to my husband. I guess I am just trying to wrap my head around this addiction that he has and find a way to help him, and help our marriage in the process. I have explained to him that this is confusing and hurtful to me. It makes me feel like he doesn't want me or that I am not good enough for him. He assures me that he does not feel that way at all, but it does not keep me from having those feelings. I don't want him to feel broken or weird. I don't want him to feel guilty and torn. However, I don't think it's fair that I have to feel second-rate or unloved, unwanted. Please help. I need some solid advice here. Tammy Middle.0 likes. I don't even know where to begin really. It has been such a hard journey and I know for many of you a lot longer than mine. I met my daughter's father about 4 years ago and I instantly fell in love. Something just drew him to me. Everything seemed great for about the first year until my brother and he had an argument and my brother revealed to me he had been hanging out with his ex. Which at first didn't upset me, it was his comment to my brother afterward that did. In any event, that's when I started looking for an old picture he voluntarily deleted from his phone of his ex naked. I found countless text messages and some questionable Facebook messages too, and I confronted him on them. He downplayed them, pretended he had no participation in the requests, and I just let it go. Fast forward a year, we are happily living in another state. I am pregnant with our daughter and he is working as the maintenance manager for an apartment complex. Again, we seem relatively happy. He's enjoying his work and I'm busy at home preparing for our little one's birth. About 2 months into his new job, a woman moves into one of the apartments and starts calling him incessantly. At first it was all for repairs, then she started calling for more personal things at all hours of the day. Half the time the phone was ringing for him first thing in the morning. It was extremely frustrating, and when I brought it up, the only thing he would say was he knew and that he shouldn't have given her his personal number. Then he tells me his boss took him and the other maintenance guy out for lunch to this great restaurant that we needed to try because of all the difficulty he was having with the new tenant. Every day he was talking about or with this woman, and finally asked me to go meet her with him one night after work because he was convinced we would get along. The meeting was arranged and she happened to mention that restaurant. He couldn't stop talking about something she said made me suspicious, so I called his boss the next day pretending to want the name of the restaurant they went to. While he knew the restaurant, he told me he had never been there. I was furious and confronted him on it directly. At first he denied it completely, but finally after some prodding I got him to at least admit this woman had brought him a sandwich from there, and that while he wasn't attracted to this woman he did like the attention she gave him. A few weeks later he did tell me in passing one morning he thought he was a sex addict, but I guess I didn't want to see that then. About a month latest he ended up having to go back to our home state, and I followed about 2 weeks later, and again things were great until October 2014 because of our trust issues. One of the boundaries I set was that I always had access to his email. Well, I was getting our daughter ready for swim class and my phone alerted me an email came in, and it was for one of those hookup sites. I was Delves rated. I got in my car and drove around aimlessly for hours, confused and hurt at being betrayed. I ended up driving to visit another family member for a few days. He called apologizing incessantly, swearing he didn't know how it happened, thought it must have been because of some porn site he looked at, never taking any responsibility for it. Even though I didn't believe him, I decided to come home until on my way there I found he had tried to select sex off of Craigslist ads. Again I felt hurt, confused and alone, but he tried to convince me that it was all because his feelings were hurt and convinced I was cheating on him. So after a few days I caved and went home, but this time I started talking to him about possibly being a sex addict. Well, he lost it, denied it, and relapsed from 3 years of being sober from substances. Things have been worse since the middle of November. Many more hookup sites, a few inappropriate Facebook messages, then it all blew up this past weekend because he and I had been talking for several months about moving again so he could get away from PPL places and things here. Well, he brought it up again this past week, but thought since we didn't have a lot of money he should go down, get established, and then have us move down, which I was all for until Friday when I found out one of the Facebook girls he's been speaking to I appropriately moved down there recently too. I finally kicked him out, but I'm left here feeling insignificant, scared and alone. Sarah Middle. 0 likes. I recently found out my husband is a sex addict. We have only been married for 2.5 years, in which this has been going on the whole marriage. We have been together for 7 years. I found out that he was having phone sex when his email was going off in the middle of the night. Then I checked his email and found email exchanges with different escorts. He started acting out when my mom was diagnosed with cancer shortly after we got married. I quit my job to take care of her. He continued off and on up until this past December. He disclosed some things that he buried deep, but there is still a lot more I need to know. He is currently at an intensive sex addict rehab out of state. Things seem to be going well and will be having aftercare, and we are going to marriage counseling. I am just so confused about everything. My emotions are everywhere, and he was the guy I thought could never do this. My fear is he will relapse even if it is years later. I told him one more screw up and it is divorce. He gets back from rehab next week and I am nervous. Sarah. Tink Middle. 0 likes. I feel your pain, Sarah. My hubby has relapsed twice in a matter of weeks. I had to threaten him with leaving and taking his son away the last time. He says it clicked, but then I found out about the video cam chats and online strip poker, and was floored once again. I feel dirty by association. Sal Middle. 0 likes. I married my husband knowing he was an admitted sex addict. In my head he wasn't totally a sex addict in that he just watches porn but never anything more than that. Now I'm wondering where to go from here. I don't want this to remain the status quo of our marriage. We live in a religious community, so he is too embarrassed to try and find a support group. Ella Hutchinson LPC Middle. 0 likes. I am starting an online support group for wives soon. We'll be using Zoom, similar to Skype but better and more user-friendly. Check it out on my website homepage. Ella. Colleen Middle. 0 likes. My husband is a sex addict. I have caught him in so many lies he can't keep them straight. I have told him this is now the 4th time being caught, how much I do not appreciate him watching porn and so on, but he keeps doing it and I keep catching him and he just keeps lying. How can I get through this hurt and pain? How can I forgive him and move on? Tink middle. 0 likes. I am 24 years old. I met my husband at 16, we got together and were married when I was 19. I am a Sam to a 3-year-old boy, who thinks his daddy hung the moon. I was born with CP and hydrocephalus, and spent the first 2 years of our marriage in and out of hospitals and having skull and brain surgery due to headaches caused by the shunts placed on my brain. I was 72 pounds when I got pregnant, and afterwards suffered terrible PPD for the next 15 months. My husband worked 15 hours a day 6 days a week, starting literally the day our son was born. I had to do everything. He then became an alcoholic, and I stood strongly by his side through that. And now, I am being put through this God-forsaken storm, and all I can do is think that this is not what I signed up for when I promised love, loyalty, and friendship our whole lives, but I made that promise. And I have to try to keep it, or I will never know if we could heal. My son deserves the chance at a whole family. I just could use some people in my life who truly understand the situation I am in. Anyone willing to maybe email back and forth with me, please feel free to do so. Reply, and I will post my email for you. Lee middle. 0 likes. I have 2 questions. Ella said we should not recover the marriage until he is on his way to recovery. So should I move out during his recovery or should I stay and help him through it? Also, why is it mainly men suffering from sex addiction? Holly middle. 0 likes. My husband is a good man. He is attentive, he takes care of me and the dogs, he has stuck by me as I battle severe depression. My husband is 25 years older than me. When we decided to get married, my parents were ready to disown me. But through some miracle, and a lot of intervening on my grandparents' part, he has been accepted into the family and is very much loved. He is home with me every night, we go on dates, vacations, we share hobbies. It seemed like we had it all. I discovered that he has an addiction to porn and calling, texting escorts. He has admitted to it. He said he has come close to actually meeting up with an escort, but that he had never followed through. I guess I'm not sure how much of that I believe. He says he has a sickness and wants to get help. He says he never meant to hurt me and that he thought since he never met up with anyone that it was natural, just flirting and masturbating. He says that we did have it all. He was so happy, but when he was alone he would go on these websites and he just couldn't stop himself from calling or texting. He just wanted to feel that high of leading someone on or making arrangements for sex. He's been doing this since before we got married. How far back it goes, I don't know. He went through a lot of shit to marry me, so I know that he loves me. And I know that he loves this life we have built. But I'm afraid. I've gone through a lot of SHT in my life, and he was the only bright light that had ever entered my world. Now, I see that our marriage was based on a lie. I read stories about marriages succeeding after many relapses. What is your opinion? Today is Sunday. He said he would take time off work this week to check into a resource recommended by a doctor friend. It all sounds so promising, but am I just being naive again? Please help. Tink middle. 0 likes. I'm a 24 years old woman married to a man who only this week acknowledged his sexual addiction. At first, it was just porn. But then the porn led to him going on hookup sites such as horny affairs and emailing, even sending and receiving nude photos to other women in our area. When confronted, he of course lied. He was asked to leave, and we spoke the next morning. He told me it had all been a fluke, it was because he felt like he wasn't getting enough attention. Sim so focused on our son. We laid some ground rules, such as no porn, and the promise to me all accounts were deleted and there would be no more emails. We went on a week vacation to Paris, just us. And a month later I find more emails on his computer. He can't seem to give me any kind of help in understanding, but I feel like I may break from the pain. If someone could email me at kaursmami572011@gmail.com, I would really appreciate it. I have zero clue how to even start to deal with this. In shock middle. 0 likes. After 7 years together and married 3 years, today I told my sex addict husband to leave. Feeling messed up. I have caught him several times using chat rooms. After each time he begs, cries, promises to change. His lies are killing me, the betrayal is destroying me. I have no one to turn to apart from my mother, who is a rock. I don't think our marriage can be saved. I don't think he can change. I feel so alone. Tink middle. 0 likes. I understand completely. I am having doubt about whether or not my own husband of nearly 5 years will be able to get clean. I am having a tough time dealing with my feelings, while still giving him the benefit of the doubt. Everyone is all yay, he's gonna go to some meetings. And I'm over here like, I've been begging him to get help for 2 years. He denied he had a problem. Now, you want me to pat him on the back for finally getting help after the 4th time I threatened to leave? Growl. In shock middle. 0 likes. I have told him so,